Greetings, everybody. How you doing? In this episode, I wanted to answer a viewer question about visiting the countryside for the first time. I think this is something that's going to be in a lot of mind of new travelers to Japan, and even those that have been repeating coming to Japan over the last several years. A lot of people that are repeaters want to see something different than Tokyo, than Kyoto, and in this episode, perhaps we can show you a little bit new information. So the question is right here. Let's bring it up on the screen. How is it like to visit the Japanese countryside post COVID? Are the hotels and ryokans still running? I've heard that the countryside has very few youngsters, which has ultimately forced rural Japan to a tourism standstill. I'll address this, but I also wanted to go over the underlying question that a lot of people think about: where should you go in the countryside, especially for first timers. To answer this question directly, it's true that a lot of the hotels, the family run businesses, many of them have gone under, which is a really unfortunate thing. For those that were watching this channel between 2020 around March until about 2023, actually, when Japan really started to open up, which was November of 2022, we started to get more tourists coming in here without having those protocols. We saw that a lot of the businesses, and I was covering this, had left. In particular, you can see a lot of businesses in Akihabara. Many of them still have not come back. There's a lot of empty buildings, including that Sega building in the backside, but of Akihabara. But out in the countryside, they were even hit even more. It wasn't like they were getting a ton of tourists in many of these places. So they're not really geared towards international tourism. It's more domestic tourism where Japanese, in particular, if your family came from Wakayama, for example, and you go back to Wakayama to visit your family, you might go take a trip to the local onsen or an onsen in that town. Thus, a lot of people would be going to there, as well as Wakayama having a very close proximity to Osaka or Kyoto. Those locals would go to the Wakayama local onsen, for example, just to give you an idea, Wakayama being in the Kansai region along the Pacific coast. So in that sense, tourism really took a hit from not the international tourism, but domestic tourism not going into those areas, because, to be honest, not a lot of international tourists were going to those locations. I think the countryside, though, has rebounded very strongly for international tourism. I'm having more and more people, more and more locations contact me to come and visit their town and take a look at it and see if there's anything that I can do to help them promote it. It's amazing that when towns ask me to come and consult for them, and I really enjoy doing this, because I think international visitors and internationals that have been living here in Tokyo can see some of the attractions more so than the locals, because what they have in their everyday life sometimes is really interesting to us, is not interesting to them. So they don't see their own beauty sometimes. And this is true not just in the Japanese countryside, but everywhere in the world. You don't see your everyday life as being something that's interesting to tourists. But if you compare the life in rural Japan in the countryside compared to that in the cities, it's so much more interesting, I think, in the countryside. So let me show you some of the places in the countryside that I think. And Carrie, thank you for being a member for 51 months. I can't believe it's been that long. That's incredible. And Arthur Vandaley's in the house. I appreciate seeing you here, brother. Thank you so much. And Aiken as well for 50 months. You guys have been in there for a long time. Much love. The country of Japan looks like this, and I have this in my browser here. I'm going to kind of surf with you as we take you from place to place here. Now, Tokyo, it's interesting. You see everybody flies in to Narita Airport here. Narita is right there. And you can see the city of Narita. Actually, the city of Narita is a really nice destination to go and visit if you get a chance after you enter in through Narita to go into the city of Narita. Narita Temple is really, really nice. It's nice to maybe go in there and pray for your flight, perhaps. I don't know. But you can see the airport is pretty massive. And Narita is actually in the countryside. So it's just sticking around there is a pretty unique experience, because Chiba is one of these places that gets lost. Because it's so close to Tokyo, not a lot of people see Chiba as being a countryside location, but in many ways it is. If you go out to Choshi, which is one of my favorite places on the corner here to get sushi. There's a lot of local restaurants here, and some of the best sushi you come just a local fisherman bringing it into the catch. I'd never had sushi as fresh as I did when I was in Choshi, which is just so close to Tokyo. But you can also see, with the map, how massive the metropolitan area of Tokyo is. You don't see a lot of green, do you? It's just basically suburbs going really deep out until you get to about Takasaki and Gunma. Then you start to get into more rural areas. You can see it pretty much if you look at Google Maps, right? Now, if you're going east of Tokyo, I highly recommend going to the countryside. I've been to Niigata, to Nagano. I've taken you to Nagano City, to Jigokudani, which is where the snow monkeys are. Matsumoto is a really wonderful rural city. It's a large city, but it's not like Tokyo. You get a little bit more of the feeling there. Karuizawa is in Nagano, right in the center of your screen. This is where a lot of Tokyoites go to escape the city and the summer heat. They'll go out to Karuizawa. So there's a lot of beso, or second homes there from a lot of my friends. A lot of people are buying akiya, or abandoned houses, and moving out to the countryside to escape the Tokyo heat as well. A lot of my friends have done that, which is interesting. My family and I are going to be going here. So please subscribe to the channel. We're going to be taking you live to Hakuba, which is where we're going to be doing some camping for a couple of days at a camping spot here. But it's very famous for skiing. It's nestled in between the mountains there. A beautiful location, very popular with international tourists as well. And there's a lot of onsen, but in the summertime, at the end of the summer, when it cools off a little bit, it's really good for camping. So I'm looking forward to this. We're going to go there in probably about 2 weeks from now. So I'll show you a little bit of the countryside on this channel there, and then you can see the Sea of Japan side. But I think for those that are visiting for the first time, and if you're watching, this is a live chat. I just started a Q&A within there, and you guys can go in there. The question is, what is your favorite Japanese countryside destination? And I'm going to check back into the live stream in the Q&A, which is on the top of the live stream chat. You can write in what your destination is, and I'm going to go through some of the people who are watching live. What do they like? Where do they like to go as a destination? So it's a way for you to participate here. Nagoya is not a countryside location, but Nagoya is the start of where I think is the #1 destination in the Japanese countryside for those coming here for the first time. Gifu Prefecture. Why? I don't know. I think it's just because the train networks really hit it pretty good. It's very easy to get to from Nagoya. I think maybe there aren't a lot of other attractions that are huge in Nagoya City like there are in Tokyo. You have Nikko, you have Hakone, you have Kamakura. So Tokyo is stacked with day trips. But from Nagoya, if you're taking day trips, yeah, you could probably go. My hometown in Japan is Hiroshima, and a town called Okazaki, and they have a nice castle there. So I grew up in Japan 26 years ago in the city of Okazaki in Aichi Prefecture. And the places that we went were Gifu. So when my mom came to visit, and she wanted to go see the Japanese countryside, she didn't want to see Tokyo and all these other places 25 years ago. We went to this destination in the top here. And a lot of you already know what I'm looking at. It's already in the center of your screen. It's in between a lot of green and Gifu Prefecture. It's called Takayama and the Hida region. And just northwest of Takayama, you'll see Shirakawa-go, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This is a place, like a little village that you can go to. These places are they're touristy, but somehow they've been able to manage to keep their local charm. Takayama is a large town or a small city. It just depends on how you look at it. I guess it's Takayama-shi. But within the city of Takayama, they have a village kind of feeling to it, where you got these small, no high rises really, very just small local old buildings, and they've preserved them very well. You have a morning market that you can go and visit to get that feeling, where the old ladies from the countryside come and sell you stuff. The air is fresh. You have mountains surrounding you. It is one of these destinations that is just a gateway to the countryside in Japan. You need to go someplace to really experience it, to appreciate it. And I think Takayama for first timers is a place where you can, because I was surprised. Everything is marked very well in English, and it was like that 25 years ago when we checked into a ryokan with my mother, who speaks, and I didn't speak any Japanese at all at that time. We were able to get around pretty good in Takayama, um, and they were used to having tourists come to visit. And you know what the reason is? I'm gonna take you back into my own experience for a second here. I think that the reason why Takayama is so successful is because Toyota is one of the biggest corporations in the world. They're not that far away in Aichi Prefecture. Toyota has a lot of internationals coming to visit them. Now, Japan didn't have a lot of tourism in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. It's just like, oh, your Americans were going, in particular, my countrymen were going to Europe and other locations for tourism, to the Caribbean. You wouldn't think of Japan as a destination. In fact, it's only been about 10 years that Japan has really exploded as a destination for Westerners. But they had a lot of Westerners coming to visit Takayama that were part of the Toyota Corporation, those that were working in that company back in the 80s and the 90s. So a lot of them would make their way up to Takayama. So they were welcoming and understanding that, hey, this is an industry. So the industry in Gifu, I think, is very much connected to the city of Toyota and the internationals that were coming here before the tourism boom. And now it's paying dividends because they're probably in a better position to accommodate that growing number of tourists that are coming here, internationals. So like Takayama was really cool here. Let me show you. I have a video of my experience going to Takayama. This is what it looks like. It's a city. So you don't have like paths and green grass all over the place. But what you have is like this village feeling. This Miyagawa morning market is a place where you don't get any cars going in there. So you can walk around. Unlike Tokyo, it's not crowded. Maybe I shouldn't even talk about it. But there again, there's my son Leo. This is about 6 months ago. We went there because we wanted to go to the dinosaur museum in Fukui, which was a 2-hour drive from here. But coming into Takayama, you can see lots of street food here, a really cool vibe to it. Again, it's so quiet. It's getting a chance to really meet with local people as well. And I think that the ryokan owners, the small minshoku, or the hotel owners that have these old wood tatami feel places, it's all right in the center of the city, right inside of the town. So it's within walking distance of Takayama's train station. Let me see if I can go in a little bit further. As we walk around the town, I think it's at the end here. This is the other side of the street from where the morning market is. The buildings look like this. These old wooden buildings from the Edo period, and you can stay in them. You get a chance to experience them. They all have onsen baths in them, apparently. I haven't stayed in them in 20 some years, but when I did, it had an onsen bath. The proprietor, the lady who was in charge, spoke a little bit of English, and she was very accommodating. This Takayama, it was the place where I took my first Japanese bath, actually. I was an American. We didn't have internet. Nobody really told me about how to take a bath, Japanese style. This is like 25 years ago. But there was a guide in English that helped me do that, and I was eased into the Japanese bath culture at Takayama because they were so good at dealing with tourists. Not everyone's experience is going to be different, but 25 years ago, they were very well prepared for this kind of tourism. Daniel, hi, John. I spoke about the countryside on Patreon. Well, it was more of a question. This video will help so much too. I understand the question, Daniel, but I think I'm taking it to the next level. I appreciate that. Nice to see you here. And you can see what Takayama has done over the last couple of years since that era ended and we're back into tourism again. They've been able to take some of the really popular foods and confections and wagyu, hitagyu, which is really popular there, and bring it to an easy to approach way, like in the terms of street food, to be able to take it out, not having to go into the restaurant, which can be intimidating if you don't speak Japanese. Takayama has found a really good way to balance this out, and I was impressed. I thought that this would be overrun with tourists because of the over-tourism issue. Not so much. You get a chance to, it's more approachable. There's not a lot of stress from the locals. Again, they're all used to dealing with tourists so for a very long time. So the industry is much more mature here. That's a good thing for I think what they're trying to do here. I'm going to show you another place that's right near Takayama that I went to. That I think that this is more of a challenge. Shirakawa-go has a lot of buses that are coming in, so people aren't staying there like in Takayama. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of buses coming in to Takayama too. People visiting from Kanazawa, for example, which has become an amazing alternative to Kyoto, which is extremely crowded most of the time. There's some days where you won't get too many people there, but Kyoto has been, people still have good experiences there, but it's not the same as several years ago when you had a little bit more freedom. The buses are packed, the subways don't really take you to where you want to go. There's a lot of walking involved in shoulder to shoulder places, but you can find pieces of tranquility in Kyoto. But Kanazawa has become like this alternative place, and now Kanazawa is getting a little packed. But the people from Ishikawa are really smart, and they found ways to encourage people to take bus trips, to stay longer in Kanazawa by taking bus trips out to places like Shirakawa-go and Takayama. Shirakawa-go is about an hour or so away from Kanazawa. It's a pretty good bus trip, and there's a bus parking lot across the river from the village, and that's where we stayed here for a couple of the Sho River is right here. So it was really easy to get in. There's a couple of minshoku and hotels to stay in the village, but I want to show you what this looks like. They're very well prepared for tourists at Shirakawa-go. I was impressed because of that. Let me pull up the movie of Shirakawa-go here, so you can get an idea of what it looks like around here. Much quieter than Takayama. A lot of the thatched buildings back from the Edo period, they've preserved them very well. Again, this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Everything was marked in English when we walked around Shirakawa-go. It was a pretty interesting place for me to see because I hadn't been here in decades. But it has gotten a lot more touristy. There's a lot more tourists during the day, and at night around, I'd say like 4 p.m., the buses go away and it's really, really quiet. So staying there is a little expensive because, again, the places that are redone in the countryside, you have very comfortable locations to stay in, like onsens and stuff like that. I think I was showing the hotel there. Let me see if I can find some more of the thatched roofs here. Here you go. So you can see these are restaurants. Some of them, there's a little convenience store in one of these huts. All of them are locally run. I want to say I couldn't tell. I didn't see any McDonald's or Starbucks or something like that, and I like that because you're helping out the local people. But for people visiting the countryside for the first time, this is where you really start to feel the charm, despite the fact that it is a little bit crowded during the day. If you're taking a bus trip from Kanazawa, you really do start to feel the charms of the Japanese countryside, and this becomes addictive. This is when you start to see, you know what? I've come to Japan like 3-4 times, and I've only gone to Kyoto and Tokyo. I think I want to see a little bit more of the countryside, and this is an experience that I really want to do. And then once you do this, you start to want to see more of it. Then you start to go to places like Shikoku, to Kyushu, and it really opens up. These are like gateways for first timers. Shirakawa-go is great, and there's a mountain that I climbed up to the top in this, and this gives you you don't need to fly a drone because you get this really amazing bird's eye view of the village of Shirakawa-go from here, and like it's so tranquil, right? You don't see a lot of people walking the streets. This is a little bit later in the afternoon. We had to drive back to Tokyo, but this is the kind of experience that I think a lot of people are looking for. You have I'd say in a couple of months, you're going to have snow-capped mountains surrounding, and then it does get a lot of snow in the wintertime, but this is amazing in spring because those mountains have still snow on them going into June, and well, I wouldn't say June, maybe into April. The cherry blossoms must be beautiful here. I think this is a reason to go here for all 4 seasons. So there's another, if you find a paradise in the Japanese countryside that you love, for Haiku, who's one of my Patreon supporters, Caroline, she's very much into, she found her place, which is Uji. If you like matcha, this is a wonderful countryside location outside of Kyoto to stay. And if you find a place, you'll end up going there over and over again. But the more you explore the Japanese countryside, the more you start to find places that you just fall in love with. Shirakawa-go, I think, is a place that a lot of people fall in love with in the past, and you can tell because the places are booked with a lot of visitors, many of them coming back. Here's a shot of our family when we stopped there 6 months ago. So Shirakawa is definitely one of those gateway locations that bring you in and help you fall in love with the Japanese countryside. Again, this is in Gifu Prefecture up in the north. But I want to say like 90 minutes by the express train from Nagoya Station. Or you can, I think if you take the Shinkansen, the change to Nagoya Station is not so bad. But if you go to Kanazawa, there are bus services that'll take you to Shirakawa. You see, it's not too far away. And the drive there is pretty peaceful. It's quiet out there. You probably stop off at some service areas, get some of that local flair. But if you have a rent-a-car, even better. You can drive from Takayama to Shirakawa, right between these two places, in about 40 minutes. It's pretty close, and the drive there is really nice, I thought. I drove from Tokyo to Shirakawa. It took me about 4 hours from Tokyo driving this. And the highways, after you got out of Tokyo City, if you leave at 6 in the morning, you're good to go because it's before all the congestion. Nobody's leaving the city in the morning. Everyone's coming into the city. It's a pretty beautiful drive with lots of places, restaurants that you can stop off along the way, and you really start to feel the countryside. Wakayama is another place I told you about. If you're in Osaka, you just go south and look at all this green here and national parks. There's so much to explore here that's way off of the beaten path. Nara is the gateway here. If you just go to the city of Nara, you have hiking paths there. And then if you stay in Nara, you start to say, oh, let's go like 30 minutes in this direction. And then you're in the middle of nowhere and you really start to feel that countryside. Shikoku, the whole island of Shikoku is the countryside. It feels like the side closest to the mainland of Honshu is very industrialized. There's Kochi City on the Pacific side, but like I've taken you to the Shimanto area of Kochi many times in live streams, and it's got that feeling. Nakamura right here. That's the end of the JR line. You can't go any further. You need to rent a car. So if you go just to Nakamura or you go to Shimanto, you can start to feel that countryside, stay there for a couple of days, and you are immersed in the Japanese culture. There's like no other international tourists. And I can't say enough about Kyushu as well. A lot of tourists, mainstream tourists, they're the ones that are staying on the Shinkansen line, don't get off of that. And Fukuoka, which is Hakata, Fukuoka is a massive city. The end of the train, the Shinkansen, is called Hakata. They've extended the Shinkansen now all the way to Kagoshima on the very southwest of Kyushu Island. But if you look at the other side, Miyazaki and Oita and a lot of Kagoshima, there's no Shinkansen there, and these rural areas are stunning. And I want to say Miyazaki is definitely on the list here. Becca, I'm looking here at the Q&A. If you're watching the live chat, we have it's hard to find in the live chat in the Q&A, but we have about 7 or 8 responses to that. Becca Ortiz writes in here, Miyazaki is her favorite place for countryside. We have Afikik writes in Aomori. I can dig it. Ramsey Silent writes in Daigo Cafe. Daigo, I don't know if that's the same place, Ramses, but the Daigo in Ibaraki Prefecture, which is not that far away from Tokyo. It's about a 2-hour drive going north. Daigo is in this amazing hidden countryside location with that village feeling to it. They grow green tea. They do all sorts of, they're making mochi. They have the rivers with clean rivers with delicious fish and produce. It's an amazing place. Great unagi there. Daigo Machi. If you trust me, search that out in Ibaraki. If you're thinking of a place for a day trip, this is definitely, or to stay for one night for country night immersion, that's definitely one of the places. Awaji Island, writes in Vincent. Absolutely. Awaji is this little island. Do you see in the center of your screen? There's Osaka, and then there's Tokushima, and then there's Okayama, and then there's Kobe, and in between it all, in the middle of the Inlet Sea, outside of Osaka Bay, is Awaji Island. And this island, a lot of people skip it. It's famous for its onions. And there was a corporation in Tokyo that started to build infrastructure in there. They have like some theme parks, and there's a Hello Kitty place as well. So you can find some really amazing countryside there. The Hello Kitty smile. Let's see if I can bring that up here. There's like they put in this weird Hello Kitty stuff in there. I think that's a good idea. There's Hello Kitty Apple House. Yeah, they're working with Pasera, I think is the name of the company. They have some glamping options, but very interesting location, Awaji Island. I think that people aren't seeing that very much. And those don't have a lot of time, I tell everybody, if you're going to Hiroshima, it's great to stay in the city of Hiroshima because the nightlife is really exciting. If you're going out to eat, there's some famous bars. I used to live in Hiroshima. I know it's a great place to hang out because it's smaller and more manageable than Tokyo. But there's Itsukushima, which is Miyajima Island, and that is countryside too. This is also one of the gateway places. And if you were to stay in this little village, you can hike in the morning. You have the whole island to yourself. Between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., the island is pretty much deserted. You just have the people that are staying there. Even the staff that work at the shops take the ferry home because it's not a livable place unless you have property there. Everyone's renting on the other side and on where the trains are. But if you go into Miyajima and at night you have the whole place to yourself, and in the morning it's amazing to walk before the tourists come for the day trip. So staying here is another gateway into the Japanese countryside. There's so many of them. I don't think you can go wrong finding a destination. I know a lot of you ask me about it. Like Matsue is a big city. The whole Sanin area, you see Daisen, Oki National Park. Yonago is a crossroads city with the ANA airport not too far away. Izumo, which is nearby, is the JAL airport. You can see they separate the airlines by the airport. Like these two prefectures don't like each other too much, Tottori and Shimane. So they're always button heads, but they have a lot of history. There's Matsue Castle, which is an amazing castle. Like this is way off of the beaten path. And if you're going to discover that you really love, it's right in the center here. Let's see if I can find the castle, right? I guess I could type it in. Oh, here it is. I think it's an original castle. So Matsue Castle is absolutely stunning. And it's a castle town. So if you stay in Matsue, you're staying in a castle town. A lot of new young business owners have started up and taking advantage of this. And you're starting to see some real stylish cafes, a lot of this old school, a traditional culture that's budding back up. And people are seeing opportunities, and they're seeing the beauty in their town again. So Matsue is definitely a castle town I could see staying in. Taking a day trip to Izumo, which is Izumo Taisha, which is one of the very big and impressive important temples in Japan. The Izumo, there's the last night train, and there's other tourist night trains, but this is the last normal night train. Leaves 10 p.m. from Tokyo Station. And the Izumo sunrise will take you to Izumo. In fact, it stops in Matsue. You can get off the train there. So you can wake up, take the night train and wake up in this area of Japan. It's really nice. Yonago, again, is the gateway city. Yonago is cool because up in the north, you have Sakai Minato. Sakai Minato is famous for having the Gegege no Kitaro. Let me see if I can... the yokai... Here's a yokai shrine. And if you... This is pretty cool. Let me see. Can I even do the Google Maps here? Oh, they got this is a shrine dedicated to yokai. Like where else would you find it? Because of the manga anime series Gegege no Kitaro, and they have all these manga characters on Mizuki Road. So if you walk down Mizuki Road, you're like you can't avoid the monsters, the yokai of Gegege no Kitaro. There's a Melody Road that plays the Gegege no Kitaro theme song as you drive from the airport. Like a lot of little quirky stuff that makes the Japanese countryside have a lot more personality than the cities. And then if you go to a place like Daisen, there's a village up there that I have been to, I don't know, at least a dozen times. And Daisen Village is, it's got so many little cafes and restaurants. It's an amazing time, especially in June when they open up the hiking trail to go up to the top of Mount Daisen with amazing views. It's just so cool, Mount Daisen. It looks like Mount Fuji. They call it the Mount Fuji of the West, and very few tourists, international tourists, are here. It's like you got the place to yourself. Some of the best ice cream I've had was here, and you have these swooping views. But you know what's most amazing about Daisen? When you get to the top of it, you're looking down at the Sea of Japan, because usually mountains are very far in. Like I've climbed up to the mountain, to the Mount Everest base camp, and I've been to Nepal, and I've done some hiking. Of course, it's more like touristy stuff. It's not like, hardcore hiking, although the elevation stinks. This is about 1,800, 900 meters, and you get this. There's no other mountain around there, and you have this sweeping view, and you can look down to the Sea of Japan. I don't know. It's hard to see it from here. There it is. You see down to the city of Yonago and the Sea of Japan, and it's just really beautiful. The trail is well maintained. It's a lot better and easier than climbing Mount Fuji. And you could say, I've climbed Mount Fuji of the West. You just have to add that of the West in there. Daisen is a pretty amazing place. Again, in the winter, I don't think you can climb it. There's a lot of snow. You might be able to. 1,709 meters. But I've climbed this 4 times, 2 times for NHK. I got paid to do it, but it was certainly an adventure. It's just the whole area is stunning. They say Daisen and the Yonago area has the best water in Japan. They say there. I believe them. There's a lot of fireflies in June as well to promote this fact that they have clean water. Really beautiful in the autumn as well, as you saw a scene there. So these are my gateway locations here. It's a big, and let's not forget Hokkaido. I could talk about that, and I'm going to talk about that in a completely separate episode. But I have a whole episode. 99.9% of tourists never visit this location. Extreme Hokkaido is the name of the video. Go check that out. I take you in a what is like a 1-hour documentary around Eastern Hokkaido. That is rural as can be. Nemuro is this really interesting outback, like outpost town. The easternmost corner of Japan. Kushiro was an interesting town, in particular in the winter when the birds come there. There's like this winter wildlife experience, which is really fascinating. Abashiri in the north of Hokkaido, where they have icebreakers, and you can eat some of the amazing foods from the Sea of Ohotsk. The Sea of Ohotsk is like this massive sea up here near the Kuril Islands. This is the contested land. At least Japan contests it. But the Sea of Ohotsk has some amazing seafood, and it's just a unique experience. I think when you look at it on the map, it's such an isolated area. The north side of Hokkaido gets almost no international tourists, and you can certainly feel it. And I'm taking you next week to Asahikawa on this channel. So you're coming with me next week, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. Probably this October postcard will be something from Asahikawa, but this month's postcard is right here. Let me show it to you. For those that are supporting the channel, I really appreciate it. We have a lot of members in the Postcard Club. This is the world's largest fireworks show that's shot up annually. It's not something they did because of to break the Guinness Book of World Records, although it is a Guinness Book of World Records thing. They did this because they're just insane. And this is this month's postcard. They had to lower it from a crane, and I made an episode about that, and it was really interesting. So that's this month's postcard, getting a chance to meet my friend Honda-san, who's the creator of the Yonshakudama, or the size 40 fireworks shell, which is 420 kilograms in weight. He outdid his father, who came up with the Sanshakudama, which was about 200 and some kilograms, and there's not going to be a larger one. It's too insane. He does not one, but 2 of them every year. It's just crazy. But that's his claim to fame, and I have a ton of respect for his genius in the fireworks market. And in fact, I think it's this weekend, right? this weekend or next weekend, the Katakai Fireworks Festival is going on in Japan. You don't need tickets to go and see it. You can see the fireworks from just about anywhere. So I highly recommend that everybody go in there and check it out. Mie Prefecture, I'm looking at the Q&A one more time. Mie Prefecture is getting some love here. Kurama Kyoto from Yoda Jedi. The area around Takayama writes in SZ. Ben writes in here, Ise, Mie Prefecture. Mosquito Slayer writes in here, I want to visit Shikoku. Have you ever been there? I have many times. Unzen Nagasaki, and we got tons of live streams on the channel from there. Unzen Nagasaki, hot springs, hiking up active volcanoes. So there's a ton of people that really love the Japanese countryside. So we have a Discord server. I'm going to end the live chat. Thanks, guys, for chiming in there. We have a Discord server where you can discuss all sorts of things. So if you want more information, join our Discord server. We just got 2 new moderators in there. So I want to say welcome. What was it, Pirate Queen, and who is the other one? Hello, hi 821 or Joy if you're in here. I want to welcome our new moderators and say thank you for all that you guys are doing in there. But this is a place where you can talk to tourists that are right now visiting Japan. They're sharing photos about the countryside. They're talking about places that they went to. And it's kind of neat to go in there, and you can make friends as well and do phone calls with each other. And you know, I get advice. I can't answer all of the messages anyway, so it's a good place where you can go. Pink On and Pirate Queen. Yeah. Pink On, right. Pick On. Thank you guys for stepping up and being moderators there. I really appreciate it. We all appreciate it, actually. I'm doing good, Trevor. Thank you. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. This came from a question that was asked for by one of our viewers. So I have to say thank you so much to Sharangam Pachaya 6401. I appreciate it. And we've got a couple other questions that I'll try to answer over the coming days. It's great to be able to do a live stream every single day, answering your questions when I don't have a place to take you, like Asahikawa next week. I'll be there on the 19th and the 20th. So look forward to a couple of live streams while I'm there. If I can, I'm actually filming a main channel episode, but I take you with me. I'm flying. Interesting enough, I'm flying JAL there and I'm flying ANA back. So I guess you can say on the 21st, maybe I'm going to have a comparison video of the 2 airlines experiences. That might be fun. But you can fly one-way tickets. And flying is so much cheaper than the Shinkansen. If you don't have a rail pass, look into buying a JAL or ANA ticket. If you get it 45 days before, it's usually less than $100. You can fly up to Hokkaido or down to Kagoshima in a fraction of the time, so you save your day. You have a lot more time, and it costs a fraction of the price. And there's Jetstar and a lot of other low-cost carriers that you can jump onto. Skymark. What are some of the other ones? Peach. A lot of the airlines, Japanese airlines, major carriers have minor carriers too, to take advantage of that low-cost carrier bare bones experience. But if you're only flying for an hour or so, you don't really need a lot of those services anyway. So it's kind of neat to be able to go to Kagoshima for like $60, where it would cost about like $300 on the Shinkansen. So and take you about 9 hours to get there. So flying is another way. So you pick a city, make that your base, like Kagoshima, or if you're going to Takayama, maybe Nagoya is your base. You fly into there. You take the Shinkansen there, spend a night in Nagoya, which is a fun city, and then head towards Takayama and Shirakawa. If you're nervous about the countryside or you're not sure, you can't speak Japanese, these 2 cities are proven in my experience. These 2 cities of Takayama and Shirakawa-go, they are proven to be really good at dealing with tourists. This is, you can see right here, this area in relation to Tokyo. Booking.com has a lot of the options. Jalan.net, Jalan.net. If you're looking for tours, Rakuten Travel and HIS and JTB, there's a ton of them, as well as bootleg tours. I don't know. But you'll find something that there's something for everybody visiting Japan. So don't be afraid to explore off of the beaten path. This is something that I champion on this channel as I take you with me when I go out to the countryside. Step away from Tokyo, step away from Osaka and Kyoto, step away from where all the tourists are and get uncomfortable, because that is when you start to make experiences that you remember better. I think Tokyo is a really cool experience your first time. In fact, spending a week there, nothing wrong with that. But it's when you get out of your comfort zone and you go to a place and discover something that you didn't expect, that you really start to make a trip that you remember forever. And I think that that's, in particular, people coming for their second time, something to consider, you know? And I'm going to keep trying to bring you these places as well. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I always love hearing from you. And until the next time, mata ne. Thanks, guys, for the super chats as well. I appreciate it.